So everything that you've been able to accomplish, I mean, recently also just being WWE said that you were what was the actual term that they gave you? Like the most successful female wrestler?
Best,
what was it?
Best ever. Okay. It was the #1 greatest female superstar.
God damn right.
Right? Seriously?
I had that down here somewhere, but it was too far down for me to actually find the term.
Well, really? Yeah. You're looking for my
I had the phrasing. Yeah, and you're also the first woman to be getting the Lou Thez Award.
Yeah.
Which is incredible. I mean, guys like Booker T, Jim Ross, Edge has gotten this award. So obviously, I mean, we all know about your history and what you've been able to accomplish inside a ring and what you've been able to do for women in professional wrestling. When you look back at sort of the beginning of your career, working with Test and Albert and having your relationship with Vince on camera, did you always know that you had this end goal in sight, that you're like, I'm going to deal with some of this, like, not ideal situations to get to this final goal? I mean, you're obviously somebody's very goal oriented. You get done, but did you have sort of a vision for how you saw your career going?
Well, I guess I knew I wanted to be the best at what I was doing, but also you have to remember it was a time where there was not really like women doing it. So you weren't like, that's what I want to do. Like, sure. I maybe could look to The Rock and say, that's what I want to do. And is that realistic? I'm not sure, because it seems like it hasn't really been done so far, until I remember The Rock said to me one day, he's like, you could be the female Rock. And I was like, oh my God. Okay. I'm going to do that. Yes.
Coming in hot. Yeah.
But I ruined my coif. Anyway.
Mime it.
Yeah. So in a way, so I just knew that it was my job then to really be the best that I could be. And that entailed, training and doing performing at my peak every time, and then outdoing my last performance and like things like that. I knew that in the beginning when I was doing, like you say, the crappy things, or maybe I said that, it's not even
that it's crappy. It's just like, that was just what it was at the time. Like, when you were in the thick of it, were you aware that it was stuff that you were like, I don't know if I really want to do it? Or if that's just kind of the way things were then? Like, was it so obvious?
Well, it's like this. I always felt like, it's funny, I have like a clip that I said this way back in the day. But like with my fitness stuff, I knew a lot of it was, I was doing these, sexy modeling shoots, right? But what it did is it gave me a platform. It gave me a voice, right? So it allowed me, and it, the shows because I was on the cover of this fitness magazine, forget what's inside of it really, but I'm on this cover, so I'm a notable personality. So therefore I will be able to, so I actually did this myself. I booked myself on Off the Record, TSN's Off the Record. And
Michael Landsberg, baby.
He was an integral part of my beginnings as well, because it gave me that exposure, and there was that crossover wrestling appeal, the crowd, the crossover there. Yeah. So I knew, like, okay, because I'm on this cover, how can I maximize that? How can I utilize that to like have my voice heard? And then once I, get on there, that got me in the door, right? Being on the cover, but then now I have the floor, and I was able to then showcase a different side and explore what I wanted to explore at that point. So I felt like in wrestling was the same sort of things, is using these opportunities to then, what's the bigger picture then? Where can we go? How can we do that? And maybe what's the next step to sort of not do that again?
Sure.
Kind of thing, right?
Sure.
Yeah. But I mean,
it's like those opportunities are presented. Like you said, it's like, that's the spotlight for you to step up and take it and make something out of it. And obviously you did, and it worked out that way. What were some of the conversations that you guys were having in the locker room at that time, or like the conversations that you were having with yourself of what you wanted to do?
I think it was a slow rise, because like everything was sort of, everything was happening under the radar. Like I'll never forget, we were doing these live events, and Jazz and I were like absolutely killing it, like having these matches, and people were like they were there for it. You know what I mean? And so they used to do these things where they used to go around to the first couple rows, and they would pull them. They would tell us, like, they wanted, like, I guess tell us your top 5 or whatever it was. List your favorite matches, and they were using that as feedback to bring back to Vince, and therefore it would reflect in TV and all that sort of thing. And so I remember, like, Vince literally came to one time, he's like, pulled me aside, and he's like, so it's you and Jazz. We've been hearing you and Jazz. Like, people are like, that's the constant in all these, reports. And I'm like, wow, like, I just couldn't believe it. But it was like these little things, like knowing, like, okay, you know what? We're making a difference. People are like, they're going to sit up and notice. It took a while. Of course, we had to almost, I guess I want to say, like, re-educate the fans, right? Because they were just used to just cheering for us, then being loud for us and chanting for our puppies. And
oh my God. Thanks, Lawler.
We're used to. And I mean, and so they didn't expect it. So I remember, and they expected us to go out. And when the girls went out, like, oh, they're going to hair pull and they're going to throw each other around and slap. And that's what they're going to do. And so I remember like Fit and I made like a conscious decision every time we got the opportunity to say, okay, let's just give them a little something different, but we'll slip it in there, right? So they're not kind of like, well, what is happening? You know what I mean? Like, and also, like, believe it or not, it wasn't just the fans. It was like, we couldn't let the office sort of be like, that's what that's what the boys do. When we got a lot of times where it was like, okay, so why were you doing that chop? That's what Ric Flair does. And I'm like, he wasn't even in the company at the time, but so I was like, but guess what? I can do it too. And it got a great.
I chop now.
Yeah. Exactly.
It's crazy how integral, it's not crazy, but I mean, I know that a lot of people give him a nod, but how integral Fit Finlay has been for women's wrestling. And he still continues to be. I mean, he's just so great. You see the way that he thinks about the matches and the way that he views women's wrestling. The fact that he has been that common thread through all of this to now where women's wrestling is, like, kudos to him. What a guy. So
incredible. I remember there was a point where like I would say there was a good year of work that we were doing where it was him and I mean, kind of leading the cavalry. We were kind of like, I was put in there and it was just a rotation of like feuds. And we were like, okay, what can we do now? Let's give this, like, it was like, because there wasn't like a lot of us at the time that were working, right? So, I mean, Lita was busy actually, I think she had her neck injury at the very beginning. I think she was off doing that. And so in the very beginning, it was like, we brought in, Jazz was brought in, right? And then there was, Victoria was brought in, and then Mickie James were brought in. So we were like, okay, we would sit and be like, we got to present different characters, and we created storylines. And that was the chance to finally like be the same as the guys in that respect, where before it was just girl segment.
Right.
It's just
that's what it was.
Right.
Yeah.
Now it was like, okay. And then we started doing storylines, and then we'd slip in these moves and like a little more solid match wise. And, just really presenting something completely different. And, I knew when I started, like when I was given the title when I won the title, defeated them all for my first title win in 2000, whatever that was, 2001 maybe.
Someone will tell us.
Yeah, 6-pack challenge. I know it was all the girls at the time. We brought in Jazz. There was Molly, there was Ivory, there was Jacqueline, there was Lita, and we brought in Jazz, who was the 6 of us. Did I get everybody? I think I did. There were 6 of us. And I won for the first time ever, and I was the underdog. And I knew at that point, it was like, this is huge. Like, they've just, look at this ball I have. I better run. Bye. I'm not gonna this baby. Like I had to. There was no looking back. And it was like a huge chance because there was no women's division prior to that. As I recall, I don't know if you remember at the time, China was the last champion, and she wasn't really a division thing, right? For her, it was just she was this entity, and it was sort of her character, almost like a Money in the Bank thing, right? It was like the title was like her character thing, right?
Yeah.
So she left the company and took the title with her. So there was like, oh, there's no title. Hello, no division. Okay.
What am I fighting for?
Yeah, so at that point you're fighting for just good performances and character establishing, and that's all we could do at the time. They finally brought back the championship, and they were like, okay, we're going to do this. We're going to put some, that's when they brought in Fit. We're going to do, and not just, I don't mean bringing Fit. Fit was there, but they were like, Fit, we're going to have you lead this. And he remembers that day too, because they were like, they told him, he thought it was a rib. He's like, oh, because it's like kind of like, yeah, go work with the girls now.
Right.
And he was like, okay, but he was up to the challenge as well, right? And I remember he told me, he's like, I saw the
that's a good group of girls too. That is like a strong group of women to be leading the charge with.
Wow. Oh my gosh, for sure. So we did it. And we just, I knew that like, this is an opportunity to change the perception of what a female can do in this business. And we went out and tried to do that. And I think we did pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, I would say so. What was your reaction of it changing from the Divas Championship to the Women's Championship and ditching the term diva?
I was okay. I don't think I ever uttered the word diva. I mean, maybe I did, but in interviews, I never called myself diva. I refused. I just didn't get it. I didn't get because I enjoyed in the beginning that we were called superstars. We were all called superstars. And when they started this diva thing, I was like, because as a tomboy, the word diva, I'm like, me, I'm a diva? No, I'm not. I don't qualify. It's not. And of course, that negative connotation too. But what they were calling a diva, I was like, I'm not even that. I don't think I'm that at all. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I was never behind that term at all. And yeah, when they brought that, even when they did the Diva Championship, it was just like, oh, okay. But then when they finally got rid of it, it was like the point when they put the 6-pack challenge together and decided to start the division. It was like a restart. It was like a reboot.
Yeah.
Chance to turn over a new leaf. And I feel like that was their moment where they're like, okay, let's get back to business here. You know?
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also I want to say, like, not to say anything about the girls who competed for the Diva Championship or who were Divas champions, because the title is just, it is what it is. They're still doing the work and still paving the path and like and doing the work for females everywhere and really establishing themselves as great workers. So, you know, not to diminish that as well. It's just, and I know, I mean, they'll say it too, like, you know, there's just that connotation, I guess, with it.
Well, it's kind of going back to what we were saying before. It's like, it's a situation. It is what it is. It's where you're at, and you do the best with what you have in those circumstances and continue to create your own path and make this way for the other women that are coming up behind you. And now to look at the other women, I mean, I don't think that there's a woman in wrestling today that doesn't lend credit to her career to you. I mean, you were out there doing all of those things. I mean, literally all of those women that you just said in that 6-pack challenge are women that have helped to lay that groundwork for those women, the women of today.